Hey everyone, welcome to our first episode for our Mayfield Here for Youth podcast. Today, our episode is called Mental Illness versus Mental Health, and we will be discussing the stigma that surrounds mental health and the difference between mental health and mental illness. My name is Arjun.
Hey, I'm Jaden.
Hi, my name is Gabby.
Hi, I'm Emma.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm going to be starting us off by talking about what mental health is. So, mental health is a very complicated thing. It includes our emotional, psychological, and our social well-being, and it can affect how we think, feel, and act. Mental health also helps determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and how we make our choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood right through to our teen years into adulthood. So, over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, it will affect your thinking, your mood, and your behavior potentially. And there are lots of factors that contribute to mental health problems, including biological factors such as your genes or brain chemistry, life experiences like trauma or abuse, or a family history of mental health problems. So, mental health and mental illness are increasingly being used as if they mean the same thing, but they definitely do not. Everyone has mental health, just like everyone has physical health. As the World Health Organization says, there's no health without mental health. It's a huge part of our overall health. In the course of a lifetime, not all people will experience a mental illness, but everyone will struggle or have a challenge with their mental well-being or their mental health at some point, just like we all have challenges with our physical health sometimes, like a cold. So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about our mental well-being, our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our ability to solve problems and overcome difficulties, our social connections, and our understanding of the world around us. Whereas when we're talking about a mental illness, it's an illness, and it's an illness that affects the way that people think, feel, behave, or interact with others. There are lots of mental illnesses, and they all have different symptoms that can impact people's lives in different ways.
And I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on what is a mental illness. So basically, a mental illness are some health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or a combination of both of these things. Mental illnesses are associated with distress and or problems functioning in social, work, or family activities. Mental health is the foundation for emotions, thinking, communication, learning, resilience, and self-esteem. Mental health is also key to relationships, personal and emotional well-being, and contributing to community or society. Many people who have a mental illness do not want to talk about it, which is totally understandable, but mental illness is nothing to be ashamed of. It is a medical condition, just like a heart disease or diabetes, and mental health conditions are treatable. We are continually expanding our knowledge of how the human brain works, and treatments are available to help people successfully manage their mental health conditions, and I think that is amazing, and we're learning so much.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, I also wanted to talk about how mental illnesses don't really discriminate. It can affect anyone, no matter your age, gender, income, race, religion, sexual orientation, or really anything. And while mental illness can occur at any age, three-fourths of all mental illnesses begin by age 24. Mental illnesses also take many forms. Some are mild and only interfere in limited ways with daily life, such as certain phobias, while other mental health conditions are so severe that a person may need care in a hospital.
Yep, I think all of that information is super important to acknowledge, Emma, Jaden, and Rachel, and I wanted to thank you guys for touching on these subjects. And now I would like to move to what stigma is and how stigma is related to mental health. So first of all, giving the description of stigma, stigma is basically prejudice plus discrimination. So prejudice is a negative attitudes towards others because of their race, gender, sexual orientation, or mental health conditions, while discrimination is an act of prejudice such as denying someone employment or services because of their color, ethnic origin, or economic status. And Emma, would you like to elaborate on some of the common stigmas that there are about people that deal with mental illness?
Of course. So a lot of them are, well, basically all of them are not true. So a lot of them are that, mentally ill people are dangerous. Teens and children are too young to be affected by mental health problems. Addiction is a choice. Recovery isn't possible. Therapy is a waste of time. And a lot of people actually think that people who struggle with mental illnesses are being dramatic or are faking it, which is not at all true. And also, a lot of people think that men don't struggle with mental health and their mental illnesses, because they're strong enough to handle it themselves, which is not true. Men struggle with mental health, and that is okay. And Gabby, I think you have some information on that.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. So, in society, men are taught from a young age to conform to gender roles and to be hypermasculine. They are taught to be dominant, masculine, strong, emotionless, and etc. They are taught to act in this fashion through the process of socialization, through their everyday experiences, and through what they see in the media. While not all of these attributes, such as dominant, are negative, they can prevent men from reaching out for mental health help in fear of being seen as not manly enough. The societal expectations that are pushed onto men are incredibly damaging, not only to men, but to everyone. So now I'm going to talk about some of the shocking statistics about men and their mental health. According to the donrehab.com, men are more likely to develop substance abuse and antisocial personality disorders than women. Men are also more likely to develop substance abuse problems on top of having mental illness. That makes treatment a lot harder. And according to homewoodhealth.com, every year approximately 4,000 people take their own lives. Out of those 4,000 people, approximately 75% are men. So now moving on to women's mental health and mental illness. In society, women are put under this magnifying glass where they are constantly being told how to act, how to speak, how to live, and etc. Living under these conditions 24/7 can be very detrimental to one's mental health. According to the World Health Organization, unipolar depression, predicted to be the second leading cause of global disability burden by 2020, is twice as common in women. Also, according to homewoodhealth.com, 25.7% of young women have self-harmed, more than twice the rate of young men, which is very, very shocking to hear.
Thank you, Gabby, for acknowledging that. Now, I'd like to get back into stigma and how it's important to recognize the negative effects that stigma does cause in people that struggle with mental illness so that we can eventually learn to move past these stigmas and end them in order to have a better understanding for people that do struggle with mental illness. So some of the negative effects that stigma does cause is that one may be reluctant to seek professional help. Their family, friends, and other loved ones may not understand their situation at all. Bullying, harassment, and physical violence may unfortunately occur. There might be fewer opportunities for jobs, in-school opportunities, or social activities. And one may even start to believe that they'll never succeed at certain challenges, which is something that no one should ever go through. And Jaden, do you want to talk about some of the factors that contribute to stigma surrounding mental health?
Of course, I'd love to talk about that. Thanks, Arjun. So, some factors that contribute to stigma are the lack of understanding about treatment. I think a lot of times people fear the things that they don't really understand, and simply just getting more educated about treatment and resources out there can totally help end the stigma about, what is mental health and, those types of things. And I think how the media and how movies or music or social media even portrays people with substance abuse issues or mental health problems is so unrealistic. There are a handful of sources of media out there that are so realistic and so amazing that we have those, but a large handful of them are not realistic and they do not line up with what is the truth. And also misguided views and beliefs from the past where people believe that mental health issues included demonic and spiritual possession also kind of ties into the media on how we have these false ideologies of these caricatures or dramatic performances of what mental health is, which are not true whatsoever. And they are just stigmas that can totally be broken with more education and more information being put out there.
Yes, Jaden, thank you so much for touching on these subjects. I've definitely also noticed how mental health problems have been displayed negatively in media, such as TV shows, movies, by artists, which eventually does contribute to the stigma that exists today. It is very important to recognize that there are many ways that we can end the stigma around mental health together. And we can do that by first acknowledging what stigma is, which hopefully this podcast helped you do. It consists of pre-existing judgments and stereotypes about people that struggle with mental health problems. It is also important to acknowledge that struggles with mental health are common. 1 in 5 people actually struggle with mental health problems, which is more than one would think, right? And it is also important to identify your own stresses and self-reflect to understand more about your own mental health and how you react to certain situations and words. It is also important to practice active listening and be self-aware of your own behavior and attitudes towards people that struggle with these problems. It is important to choose our words carefully and assess how they might negatively affect someone too. I always try to educate others by saying facts, and I feel like that is an amazing way to end stigma. And it is also helpful to maintain a positive attitude towards others at all times. And lastly, we have to try to be as inclusive as you can when it comes to people around you that struggle with mental health issues.
Thank you, Arjun. And to add to that and get even more specific, I am going to share some awesome resources that you can use yourself or share with family or friends, or even keep them in your back pocket for the future, because who knows, they may come in use to you one day. So you can always check out places like Kids Help Phone, or the Ontario government page. If you look on the Ontario government website, type in mental health resources, there are a plethora of awesome free confidential resources, and phone lines that you can talk to for all types of people, young people in general, that are great that you can reach out to. Even if you go onto the Mental Health Commission of Canada, there are some awesome resources that you can use there, again, that are free. Some are confidential and some are really, really amazing that are just a click away. And you can even check the CAMH website, which has some more great resources, and they even have places that you can go to. And also, the Trevor Project is a great website with some awesome resources for people in the LGBTQ2S plus community that are super accessible to. And I think that all of these resources are there for you when you need them, and you can even recommend them to someone that you may know.
Okay, everyone, that brings us to the end of our first podcast. I just wanted to let you all know that our Instagram is at Hear4YOUth, and that is spelled HEAR, the number 4, YOUTH on Instagram. And if you have any comments or questions, make sure to leave us a DM on there.
We hope that you'll tune in again next time for our future podcasts. And yeah, thank you. Bye.